going to jump into the 4 key strategies that you need to consider to really understand the mindset, the beliefs, and the tactics to buy back your time. Number 1, the buyback principle. So the first off, when people ask me, what does that mean, the buyback principle? Here's what it means. It means when entrepreneurs, will not grow into pain. So if there's this threshold of pain, you growing, if it means more pain, you won't do it. How does that show up in your business? Well, it means that you're slow to reply to emails. You don't follow up on introductions to potential partnerships. You don't aggressively, go for the close when you have a sales call. You don't, build certain features because it's going to take a lot of time to map out the product roadmap or whatever it is. But essentially, it's painful for you to grow. If you sell, you got to deliver, you got to activate, you got to onboard. There's all these things. And what I've discovered is most people, when they do hire, they hire people to just add capacity. They hire a developer, they hire a support person, they hire a frontline worker, whatever, which isn't bad. But the problem is that if you do that a lot, eventually, usually around 12 employees, you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to hire a bunch of people to add capacity, but it actually doesn't free up your time. So what you want to do instead is the buyback principle is 100% focused on shifting the hiring from just hiring for capacity to instead hire for capability. Capability means you freeing up your time to be more capable to invest higher value time of yours into revenue generating activities. So it's to buy back the lower value activities so that you can focus on higher value activities from your calendar. Why is that important? Because just think about this. If you had a calendar and you looked at your calendar, you said, here are all the things I've done the last 2 weeks. And you just highlighted, groups of things, either red, they zap my energy and I hate doing this, or green, I love doing this. And you looked at it, it could be maybe today, 60% red. Maybe it's only 40% red. But imagine this. What if your calendar was all green? What if you woke up and all the work you did was stuff that energized you, added value to your business, generated revenue and high gross margin, profit to your business? You would transform the way you attack the day. You would jump out of bed ready to hit your work. You would be motivated to talk to customers, talk to partners, talk to anybody that could help you scale up, because it would mean more of that. And that's the opportunity. That is the buyback principle. And that's the number 1 thing you need to understand, is that we're buying to get time out of your calendar. Number 2, calculate your EHR. So your EHR stands for effective hourly rate. Here's a simple equation. If you take your revenue, and you just call it $1 million, or even your ambition this year, if you want to get to $1 million revenue, and you divide it by 2,000, which is about the amount of hours that a person's going to work in a year, that means your hour is worth $500, $500. Well, if you look at the list of tasks that you're working on throughout a 2-week period, there's 80% that are low value, the 80-20 rule. And there's 20% that are high value, maybe between $200 to $500 worth of value. These are things like selling, marketing, partnerships, product development potentially, right? But these are things that only you can do, or the things that bring you energy, that creates a lot of value for your business. Everything else, this long tail of activities, needs to get off your plate. So what I say is that if you can hire somebody for a quarter of that value, meaning that if it's $500 an hour, that's $125. You could pretty much hire anybody. Just even think if you're $1,000 or $100,000 a year, that's $50 an hour. Is there anything you can hire people for $12.50 to do that's on this line of long tail activities? The answer is yes. You can hire people through sites like Upwork to buy people to out-task certain functions. Most people think, I need to hire a full-time person. No, you don't. Out-task that work using your effective hourly rate as a gauge, So a quarter of your EHR is where you should be looking for opportunities to invest to buy back time. Number 3, hire multiple hats. Most people, when they hire one person to do a thing. I need a designer, all they do is design. I need a Facebook person, all they're gonna do is Facebook. I need a whatever, and all they're gonna do is this. Here's my thing. If you look at your calendar and you see these chunks of work, maybe there's what you'll discover is there's 2 buckets of type of work. One's more office and operational. The other one's more marketing type tasks, social media, posting, Facebook. What you wanna do then is say, how can I hire for a role that they'll do those 3 buckets of things, because there's value in that. So I think that people forget, when we started as entrepreneurs, we wore 7 hats, 14 hats, a ton of hats. We wore all the hats. And then what we do is we hire people and we hand a hat over. What I'm saying is hand over 3 hats. hire somebody who's gonna lead your marketing and say, here's all the things I do in marketing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You now do this. I know you may not have experience, but I trust you. And there's free courses online and there's YouTube videos. Go check out this guy, Dan Martell. He's pretty smart. He's got a bunch of videos on certain things, and just hand it to people. I think people underestimate how capable folks are if you actually empower them and you coach them to success, and you just say, these are the outcomes that I'm gonna hold you accountable for. Figure it out. Let me know if you're stuck. And every week we're gonna meet and you're gonna show me where you're at and are you making progress. So that to me is one of the big ideas, the aha moments between the buyback principle is you buy back multiple hats. You give groups of activities to one person and say, hey, you're in charge of invoicing, client activation, and receivables, okay? It might sound crazy, but why? Well, because they're working with the customer to activate them. So they should make sure the invoice got done. And if somebody hasn't paid, ask them about it since they have a relationship with the customer. That's what I'm talking about when I say hire for multiple hats. And number 4, build throughput. So my whole thing when I look at scaling companies is I'm trying to drive revenue. I'm trying to create throughput amongst my management team. So for me, it's not even that I buy back my time. If you have leadership, you need to teach them how to buy back their time. If everybody at your organization is understanding this principle and hiring not to add capacity, but to free their time up so they can work in more of their genius, their unique ability, it's a game changer. If you just ask people to hire folks to add capacity and it doesn't free up their time, you're gonna burn them out. They're not gonna stick around with you, especially your A players. So I hire executive assistants for all my senior leadership team. Why? Because it's the cheapest amount of labor capital I can deploy to have them free up their time to think strategically, to look like essentially they're in the forest. They got to look up and look over across the forest and say, where are we going? That's strategic thinking. If they're leading a marketing, a sales team, customer success, they need the space in their calendar to do that. And that doesn't happen if we just keep adding people to fill capacity. We need to increase the capability. We need to increase the throughput, what I call management bandwidth, so that you can scale your company even faster.